Bill Nye, the science guy, did a video where he was trying to help people understand that all Christians and atheists are actually agnostic. How nice of him to explain everything so clearly for us. He gets very emphatic about this. He says, you can't know, you just can't know. And he states that for everyone. Well, before I dive into that, I want to get into something else that he stated. He talks about we're all in this together. So you look at the title, like Christians and atheists. Oh, we're all together. You really can't know. So you should probably just come together. And I believe there he mentioned something about, maybe us not being tribalistic. We need to be one. We all need to be one. We're all in this together. And as I have stated many times, no, we're not. And perfect evidence of this just showed itself at the world competition. I don't want to say the word that starts with a big O, because if I do, it'll probably attach something to this, and I don't want that stigma attached to the video. So at the big O, on the mountain, all the competition, there was this call out against Christians in blatant fashion. You see, the groups that push inclusivity are incredibly exclusive. And it's during times like this that it can be seen. And so, no, we're not all in this together, and you're going to have to choose sides. So which side do you want to be with? The truth or not the truth? And so obviously that's up to you to figure out. So anyhow, but he's like, we can't know. First of all, that's a very inductive statement. And atheists and agnostics are going to chew this up, or at least I hope they will. I hope they'll be honest about this. When you're trying to definitively decide something, you don't use, inductive statements now, do you? I mean, don't we need to be deductive? Isn't this about science, or is it more about beliefs? And so this, when he says you can't know, and makes an inductive statement, this is a guesswork, and it might be true, but it might not be true. It's just how good are your powers of perception? So instead of saying we can't know, I want to ask the question, can we know? Can we really know if there's a God or not? And I want to look at this in a different light. So let's pretend that scientists everywhere, atheistic scientists everywhere, were put out of business and they had to go get jobs in other fields. Can you imagine an atheist scientist that now, instead of being able to go to the lab and do whatever, is now forced to be an insurance actuary? And they're like, hey, I want you to write this new policy, and you've got a background in mathematics, so I want you to, tell us the stats and the numbers of what it would take to actually make this policy work and be productive where we don't actually cause the business to go under a collapse. Do you think that as a scientist then they could know the outcome? Know it. What if the scientist had to get a job as a casino game designer, and that's all that was available, is he had to be this casino game designer? And can you imagine the owner of a casino coming in? It's like, hey, will this thing work? It's like, I don't know. Like, well, no, we need it to work. We need to know within the probabilities. We've got to know that it's going to turn a profit. We have to know. Do you think the scientists could know? Oh, absolutely, they could know. But here's what I find interesting. It's Bill Nye saying things like, you can't know, but we know that scientists can figure out things that they do know within a realm, within a range, very clearly. They know what they can't really know by other avenues of deductive possibility, but won't consider the historical accuracy of scriptures, or the mathematics against evolution, or the mathematics that are for the fulfillment of ancient prophecies? Or what about the application of actual verses? You apply them to your life and they actually come out with the proper results. Or what about answered prayers, like there being more answered prayers than less answered prayers? Or what about the fact of human behavior descriptions being very, very accurate? Or what about the personal and collective experience of all those out there that do know God? You know, as a actuary or as a probability figurer for a gambling casino, I bet I could know. I bet I could absolutely know. Well, at the end of this video, one of the things he states is like, hey, look, the best I can figure, he says, so we are all, I believe, best served by living good lives. It's just a statement, you know, that nobody can really know. We're all best served by living good lives. What do you mean by good? What does that even mean? What do you mean good? And the response to anybody that's being questioned about this for the first time is going to realize that, like, oh, well, I just believe there's good. I mean, there has to be good. There is good. And of course, you get into that, and there either is good or there is not good. And there just has to be good. And Bill Nye, who can't seem to know there's a God, can know there's good and then tells everybody to do it. Well, that's the same way we know there's a God. If there's good, there is absolutely a God. It's not too hard. So I actually have an inductive statement. You can know if there is a God.